everybody, and welcome to this special on Mars entering Leo. I'm Amani. I'm a karmic, holistic, astrological life coach, and I like to go in depth in all that I do, and all of my interpretations, especially when it comes to Venus, Mercury, Sun transits and everything really, are based on Vedic astrology, which is based on where the planets or the luminaries, which are the Sun and the Moon, are any given time in the sky, and all times are in GMT time as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, and yeah. So Mars enters Leo, the planet of action, on the 6th of June 2025 at 9:42 p.m. GMT time until the 28th of July at 3:30. So Leo is a fire sign, and it's a fixed fire sign as well. And the peak energy of this transit is when Leo's at about the 15th Sabine degree, which is on the 2nd of July. That just means this energy will be more powerful then. So there's a few transiting aspects that Mars makes when entering Leo. It makes a sextile to the Moon and Mercury, a biquintile to Saturn, a square to Uranus, a biquintile to Neptune, a trine to Chiron, and a quinquage to the Moon's North Node this year, and a trine to the Ascendant, which I'm going to talk about in the aspect section. The Sabian symbol that Mars enters Leo is of course the 0 degree of Leo, and this Sabian degree symbology is blood rushes to a person's head as their vital energies, their power, their motivation drives are activated, and we can just become more ambitious under this energy. So this energy, Mars motivation energy, is good to rethinking the way you live your day-to-day life, starting projects that you've put off. We're entering the mid-year point, so yeah. So the energetic frequency of this energy is that we can become more passionate, more dramatic in expression, more courageous, more expressive, and more prideful, eagerful. So Mars is seen as the astrological warrior, and as it, moves boldly into the royal territory of Leo, because Leo, ruled by the Sun, is seen as this kind of like regal energy. It's going to stay here for about 7 weeks, and it blends, as I said, our self-expression and passionate action, encouraging us to be more creative, to work from the heart, so we can think less logically under this energy, but it is wanting to transform how we, assert ourselves, stand up for ourselves, and go after what we really want, our heart's desire. So we can prepare for, a dramatic increase in confidence when Mars wears, Leo's majestic royal garments, robes, clothes, whatever, and we can just be more brave in our search for what really makes our heart roar with joy and happiness. So overall, in terms of the holistic astrological meanings, when Mars transits in Leo, it brings like a significant shift, change in our collective expression of energy and desire, moving from, the protective, emotional approach that Mars in Cancer brings us into a courageous, dramatic expression of that lion and fearful energy. It can improve our capacity, ability for courageous leadership, creative self-expression, magnetic kind of charisma. We can be more charming, we can be drawn to people more, people can be drawn to us, we can convince people more, be convinced by people more with this energy. So the archetypal energy of Leo, which is ruled by the Sun, as I said, supports Mars to express its warrior nature with pride and ego, standing up for what we believe in, but also gives us that, theatrical actor, actress kind of skill. We can just be more expressive and like out there, but we just have to watch out for being over dramatic and stealing others' sign, or just trying to take up the whole room. But it's also good for putting ourselves out there, so it's about finding that balance. So yeah, our capacity for taking central stage, expressing ourselves without apology, and following our passions with our whole heart, right, and commitment, becomes more marked, noticeable. It gives us the power to do that, and people can just be more generous in general with their spirit it, with their time, with their energy as well. It allows us to take decisive action on our creative projects positively, speak our truth with more dramatic impact, or just speak our truth in general, and lead from a place of authenticity and passion. In terms of our romantic plans, because it wants us to lead from the heart, right? So Mars energizes Leo's natural charm and magnetic appeal, creating passionate connections and playful intimacy opportunities. It supports bold leadership, the ability to inspire others through courageous action, and rally people around a shared vision and take command of challenging situations with more confident authority. It kind of allows us to really want to take lead and have that magnetism of self-empowerment, self-belief, love and acceptance and awareness. This can become our magic, our superpower that motivates ourselves, and it's good energy to work with teams and to cooperate, work with others as well, and handle each other's charismatic charm and appeal, because our performance abilities are accelerated, increase at this time through our creative artistic expression. So using art in the workplace can be really good, or artistic expression, maybe just going a bit crazy with different colours of sticky notes instead of just sticking to the bland yellow. Great energy for public speaking and any form of presentation, as Mars illuminates Leo's natural self-expressive talents. So yeah, it's a good time to show off your skills, step into the spotlight and receive well-deserved recognition for your efforts, your hard work. But negatively, the sadder side of this transit comes out, manifests as potential ego conflicts and power struggles in our communication and our relationships, right? Because our pride, our ego may become so inflamed, so enlarged, so big, which can make working with others with equally strong opinions or leadership styles challenging, or, you cannot be the person that is, overly, I don't want to say aggressive, but puts yourself out there in a manner, in that kind of bold Leo energy manner, and you can find it hard to work with those who do that at this time. It can also increase stubbornness and dramatic reactions when challenged, like if someone says do it this way, my way is better, and all of that, and this can lead to unnecessary conflicts if not properly channeled and used. So it's better to compromise, find a balance, knowing that what works for you may not work for others, and just finding the balance between different people's working strategies and especially in group settings, trying to take other people's ideas on board, which can be quite hard to fine tune, but it's necessary with this energy because competition can become excessive and, as I said, dramatic, and this can turn in every interaction, every conversation into a performance or contents, and just, oh, I'm better than you and all of that. And because Mars's influence is pushing for dominance rather than cooperation, relationships might suffer from displays of ego rather than genuine connection, rather than listening to others. You may just want to dominate, and this can really mess up projects and just mess up relationships. Also, on the physical level, we can do too much, right? And our physical energy can become overextended. And because the combination of Mars's drive, and Leo's enthusiasm can encourage us to go beyond our reasonable limits, maybe not sleeping enough so we can work, and, this bigger is better sort of like mindset mentality can lead to burnout, inflammation in the body as well, or even heart strain if physical activities and other activities, routines and stuff are not balanced with, enough adequate rest right now. So the best use of transit Mars in Leo is to, as I said, find a balance between self-expression and respectful collaboration, teamwork, listening to others, create creating structured, routine, creative expression projects that satisfy your need for recognition while producing meaningful work. Sometimes this energy can just make us want to do things for the sake of it, but the best use of this is to focus and do to-do lists and prioritize projects, and maybe do a morning routine, like morning movement practices that can get your heart pumping, and this can help you channel the fiery energy of Leo constructively and set a confident tone for the rest of your day. So ultimately, under this energy, leadership becomes your greatest tool, to use it wisely. Practice, heart-centered self-empowerment, standing in your own power, while also generously recognizing and supporting others to do so, making sure that your own, confidence inspires rather than intimidates and put people down, and chip at their self-esteem, and don't chip at your own self-esteem, because sometimes this energy can just make us too self-critical. Schedule important presentations and performances during this transit, because your natural charisma, or you may find charisma if you don't have it naturally, your charm, your ability to get your message across and engage people and be engaging in the way you express things, and also your courage are astrologically supported to do well at this moment. Meditation can really help at this time to chill out the Leo everything now energy, so movement-based approaches like dance, meditation, or dynamic yoga, tai chi, that engage both physical energy and heart-opening awareness, can satisfy Mars and Leo's need for expression while developing, a more mindful presence, being in the moment. So affirmations such as I express my power with generosity and grace, or my courage inspires others, can help integrate the positive aspects of this transit while mitigating its challenges. So that's the best use. Now I'm just going to talk a bit more about the planetary energies involved in this transit. So obviously we got Mars and Leo energy. So Mars energy represents our drive, our passion, our assertion, and raw, gut feeling, primal, instinctive energy. It's rules Aries and traditionally Scorpio, but some astrologers say Pluto rules, and some say Mars and Pluto rules Scorpio, but in traditional astrology it's Mars that rules Scorpio. But as we found new planets like or points, dwarf planets, in the case of Pluto, it became the rule of Scorpio. So Mars controls our ability to take action, compete with others, to put ourselves out there, to defend ourselves and others as well, and to go after our desires, our passions, our needs. And it controls our sexual drive, exercise drive, eating drives, all our drives, our motivation, right? And in astrology, Mars is the warrior, providing the courage and the initiative, to get up and go, to start things, to achieve our goals, and to overcome obstacles, and to keep on going as our obstacles come, and build that self-resilience and reliance and awareness as well. Leo energy is ruled by the Sun, and this embodies, self-expression, creativity, pride and leadership, and it's a fixed fire sign, as I said, and this rules us being playful, our performance, our romantic, it's 5th house stuff, right? And Mars typically lives in the 1st house or the 8th house, but Leo lives in the 5th house. So how we can be generous, how we take risks, it represents our ability, our capacity to sign authentically and be authentic, and aspire others to be authentic and to be themselves as well through heart-centered action. So when we are using Leo energy negatively, we may put others down, we may get success at the expense of others rather than working with others. But rightly used Leo energy is about inspiring others and being ourselves and allowing ourselves to shine and inspiring others to do so. So now I'm going to talk about the practical uses of this energy. So overall, Mars in Leo improves our creative courage, our leadership, magnetism, self-belief and passionate self-expression, empowering us to take centre stage in our life and inspire others through bold action and go after what we really want to do with magnificent increased confidence. But negatively, ego conflicts, dramatic power struggles and excessive pride, ego, can come up, and this can lead to unnecessary confrontations or a stubborn refusal to compromise and work with others. And when working with others, cooperating can be more effective, so we just have to be mindful that we are open-hearted and try to compromise. Compromise is the key word for Mars transiting in Leo. So in terms of the financial meanings, it can increase our confidence, especially in financial negotiations and marketing ourselves, going for investments, starting that side hustle. We can come up with brave investment strategies and creative approaches to income generation, making more money right through performances, leadership roles or creative enterprise. But negatively, we can spend too much, risk financial gambles based on pride or ego, or investments driven more by ego more than us, carefully analysing, should we invest in this so that we can take excessive risk? So we need to watch out for that, right? Politically, we can see an increase in charismatic leadership, people that can move others and inspire others, but we need to just watch out for that energy as well, as I'm about to say, jumping ahead there. So people can be more courageous in their political stances and approaches, and more heart-centered in their initiatives and policies that they put forward, and this can inspire public engagement. Negatively, political grandstanding, putting themselves out there, tearing other policyholders down and all of that, and being too authoritative, controlling, can lead to leadership conflicts, all driven by ego rather than genuine concern for, the constituents, people, for citizens, the nations, Okay, in terms of the materialistic meanings, positively, it allows us to be more vibrant in our cultural expressions and community celebrations, and we can have collective movements that are led by passionate, charismatic figures. Socializing negatively can become focused on performance because of this, and popularity, who's more popular rather than substance, who has the more meaningful message, who's actually talking sense. And this can lead to collective pride and ego, blindness to essential issues, so we just need to watch out for that, being swayed by people who have the gift of the gab, as we call it in the UK, good with words and good with influencing, but are really not really delivering what they're promising. Recently we've had a lot of scandals with influencers, some saying that they cured themselves as things like cancer and stuff like that, but they really didn't, falsifying results and stuff like that. So we always have to make sure that we do our research when we listen to anyone, and we don't just believe anything blindly during the transit of Mars in Leo, just because someone has this kind of dominating, charismatic approach to how they express themselves. Psychologically, we can have more courage to face our fears, increase in our authentic self-expression and improve confidence in social situations. But negatively, it can reinforce narcissistic tendencies, or me, and look at me, I'm the best sort of thing. And we can have difficulty accepting criticism, and we can just have psychological stress from constant performance pressure, the pressure to perform. Esoterically, and in terms of the hidden meanings of transit Mars in Leo, it activates our heart chakra's warrior energy, and it aligns it with solar consciousness, and this can allow us to connect with our sort of lion energy spiritual guides, or the lion energy part of ourselves. But negatively, spiritual pride or ego can be so inflated that this leads to a toxic sense of self-importance and and it can make us just need more recognition and need more praise about our spirituality and stuff like that. So we need to watch out for spiritual bypassing and, wanting rewards for spiritual progress, which of course we can reward ourselves, but we have to remember spirituality is a sort of like thing where we're meant to be learning to manage our ego, not to make it worse, right? So in terms of the symbolic, emotional, creative meanings of transit Mars in Leo, it can deepen our creative courage, our artistic expression, and make us more emotionally honest, especially in the way that we express ourselves creatively. And it allows us to be more magnetic in our performances, so good for like acting work and podcasting and all kind of content creation as well. Negatively, we can feel creatively blocked or block our creative expression because we can fear that we're not good enough of other creators or all of that. But we have to remember that we all got our niche. Some people's niches are bigger than others, but that doesn't mean your niche, the way you express things is not, good enough. We can be too emotionally reactive as well when our creativity or other self-expression is criticised, and this can lead to dramatic displays of our emotions, which stem from a fear of not being enough, so don't criticise yourself and put yourself down. Work with it. Try and get to the root of why you feel inadequate about your creativity or emotional expression or anything like that as well, and be gentle with yourself. And if you overstep others' boundaries, apologise. And if others overstep your boundaries because of this aspect, right, us being emotionally reactive, try and give them some grace as well, but of course don't let others walk all over you. Also, we have to find that balance. So now I'm going to talk about the aspects that Mars is making when it enters Leo. So Mars makes a sextile to the moon, as I said earlier. So this creates a supportive flow between our emotional intuition and active expression. Mars in Leo's bold energy receives emotional intelligence from the moon, allowing for our actions to be both passionate and emotionally aligned. Allowing for our actions to be more passionate and emotionally aligned, it allows us to be more assertive and, rather than just being simply aggressive, being more emotionally intelligent, which is needed because Mars in Leo can make us really pussy and wanting our own way, right? So it helps us to take actions while honouring your own desires and other people's desires and emotional needs as well. Mercury makes a sextile to Mars, so this brings a connection between our mind and our need for action. So again, allowing us to think before we react and act, right? Our communication can become more impactful, persuasive and charismatic, and our thoughts can translate directly into confident expression and decisive movement. It gives us increased ability to articulate, get our attentions across clearly and persuasively, making this an excellent transit energy for pitches, presentations and performances. Mars also makes a biquintile to Saturn. This allows us to be more innovative in our solutions to structural, challenges to our routine. In Leo's bold, courageous energy, Mars' energy can help us find unusual ways to work within Saturn's restrictions and limitations, because Saturn's energy always, just wants us to be disciplined in the things that we want to do, thinking about, okay, you want to be a doctor, an artist, a content creator, but what daily lifestyle habits, which is the important step that we miss out often, what lifestyle we have to live, what time we have to go to bed to reach our goals, right? So Mars is biquintile to Saturn, nice subtle energy that disciplines our creativity, and it supports the development of sustainable creative practices and routines that combines Leo's passion with Saturn's endurance, focused, disciplined routine, right? And this makes it perfect for creative projects that require us to feel inspired and also, need us to commit long term to day-to-day habits or weekly habits or monthly habits to make sure we finish them, you know, because Mars allows us, you know, to start many things. And with it being in Leo, you know, fire, it's double fire, you know, Mars is fire energy, rules Aries, cardinal fire, so initiating, starting things, fire. With Leo, fixed fire, you know, that can make us stay stuck in our comfort zone at the very worst, but can also make us stay fixed in our routine at the very best, you know. So yeah, Mars makes a square to Uranus, so this challenging aspect adds dynamic tension between self-expression and revolutionary change. Mars in Leo's desire for recognition can clash with Uranus's need for authentic freedom, creating unexpected, you know, disruptions, changes to established routines. Practically, this aspect wants us and warns us of potential sudden changes in leadership dynamics and can lead to creative breakthroughs that disrupt the status quo and impulsive actions that carry unexpected consequences. So this requires us to be flexible and quick in how we adapt to things that happen, you know, and this energy allows us to get outside of our routine as well, and, you know, thinking outside of the box, allowing for new perspectives to solve our problems can really help us overcome, you know, relationship issues where we've been stuck, or project issues where, you know, we've been doing a project and we've hit a wall, you know. So it can really help us get outside of our comfort zone and find solutions to help us move forward in all the different areas in our life that we need to do that in. So yeah, as I said before, think before you say things and act and react, right? Mars makes a biquintal to Neptune, so this can bring unusual connections between us taking assertive action and spiritual vision. Mars in Leo's passionate expression finds innovative uses through Neptune's dreamlike inspiration. So this can allow us to perform and do things, express ourselves in a transcendent way, you know, going beyond our normal self-expression and being a bit spiritual, ethereal, almost psychic in some ways. And what's the word? Right word I'm listening for. Yeah, just open-minded and you know, a bit floaty in our expression. But, you know, Neptune energy can always make us, you know, escape, ignore red flags and overindulge in intoxicating substances, especially if we are using them to try and get that peak creative expression, you know, that high. Some people think they express themselves creatively better when under the influence of drink and alcohol, right? So we just need to watch out for overindulging, overstimulating ourselves. But ultimately it supports creative plans that combine, you know, courageous action with spiritual themes and leadership approaches that inspire through vision rather than controlling behaviour and words. So this is really good to bring peace back into relationships when we may overassert ourselves by being too dominant with the Leo energy that can make us think our way is the only way, whereas life has taught me it's always better to compromise, right, especially if we're, you know, engaging and working with others, you know. Mars makes a trine to Chiron, so this helps supports healing through courageous self-expression, illuminating paths to confronting core wounds, you know, deep wounds from childhood or, you know, any stage of your life, especially wounds around, you know, performance, taking the lead and being authentic in the way that you express yourself creatively or otherwise. It also supports teaching opportunities or learning opportunities that can transform our personal wounds into inspiring lessons for ourselves and others, and leadership that acknowledges vulnerability as strength and creative expressions that heal both, you know, you as the performer and the audience, those you're performing to, right? So Mars makes a quincunx to the Moon's North Node, so quincunx energy is all about adjustment, change in our approach, right? And this highlights tension between personal glory and collective evolution. And transit Mars in Leo gives us a desire for individual recognition, but it needs us to align it with the North Node's need of spiritual growth and living to our highest potential and purpose. So practically, this energy wants us to consciously change, adjust how we seek, go for recognition and praise, or how we may resist validation for our efforts, internal validation from ourselves or external validation. We must not crave and try to be overly validated by external sources, people and awards and stuff. We have to as well make sure that our sense of self comes from within, but sometimes we can think we don't deserve any form of recognition or respect for anything we put ourselves down. So we have to have a balance between seeking recognition, going after what's ours, our rewards, in a balanced way, making sure that our dramatic self-expression serves our authentic evolutionary path rather than diverting energy into ego gratification alone or resisting recognition, which can lower our self-worth as well. So this energy allows us to balance our need for personal glory and growth, and allows us to wants us to consciously think about how we resist recognition or overly seek recognition. Mars makes a trine to the ascendant, so this supports us being authentic in our presentation, how we project ourselves, our persona out there into the world. It increases our personal magnetism, self-belief and leadership presence. It allows us to really do well in public presentation, which Mars transit in Leo energy wants us to support us in doing that, as I said earlier, and it can help us make a strong first impression that serves our goals, as our outer expression can naturally align with our inner fire right now, and the aspects of Chiron, Uranus and the Moon's North Node help us with our brave self-expression, serving a higher purpose and healing collective wounds and disrupting outmoded patterns of thinking, being and reacting in the world. So in terms of the karmic meanings and lessons, positively, we can use this to use our personal, powerful, collective inspiration, inspiring our partners, children, colleagues, all that kind of stuff, integrating our ego into the service of a higher purpose and discovering the responsibility that comes with leadership. Negatively, repeating patterns of pride, ego before a fall, and creative exploration, you taking other people's creativity and passing it off as your own, sort of thing, or using your charisma, your manipulating others rather than inspiring them. So it's important to notice reoccurring patterns in seeking recognition and consciously choosing actions that balance healthy expressions of our pride, our ego, with genuine service rather than defaulting to ego-driven performance and manipulations. In terms of the past life memories that can come up, we may remember past lives where we were leaders, teachers or royal figures even, because Leo energy is regal, and these may surface, and this can bring useful charismatic skills and leadership approaches from previous incarnations to your attention that can help you currently. Negatively, trauma related to public humiliation or betrayal after success or punishment for standing in your power may show up as blocks to self-expression in your dreams or even just in your life experiences right now as well. So it's important to pay attention to intuitive insights, flashes about how you use power before, treating them as opportunities to exercise leadership more consciously in this lifetime, or to step into your power this lifetime, in an empowering way that increases your self-esteem rather than not expressing yourself, making sure you express yourself in a way that respects other people's need for freedom and their need for self-expression as well, rather than making others feel small so you can feel big, sort of thing. terms of the collective karma that comes up, it gives us opportunities to heal wounds through courageous leadership, inspiring creative expression and heart-centered collective action. But negatively, collective patterns of following charismatic but ultimately self-serving leaders or influencers can intensify, and this can reflect unresolved leadership karma as a collective. So it's best to contribute consciously to collective healing by modelling ethical leadership that genuinely serves the greater good while still honouring your individual creative expression and needs and personality traits, So in terms of how Mars and Leo influence our relationships, in terms of our family relationships, we can take a more visible leadership role within our family dynamics, and we can express affection with greater warmth and generosity and courageously confront long-standing family issues. So negatively, the potential for dominant struggles, I'm in control now, you're in control, struggling for control, and dramatic reactions. We can feel unappreciated by relatives, and this can just lead to more power struggles, so we need to watch out for that. So the best use of this energy in terms of family dynamics is to use this transit to initiate, heart-to-heart conversations with family members, balancing your need for recognition with genuine interest in their perspectives, belief systems. Because a lot of the time, we struggle with different members, family members' expressions and belief systems, but sometimes we just have to, live to let live, obviously not allowing others to overstep our boundaries, but respecting each other's beliefs while asserting our beliefs as well. In terms of friendships, we can be more generous and playful in our interactions with friends, taking the initiative in planning social gatherings and inspiring friends through our passionate approach to life. But negatively, there can be a risk of dominating friendship groups or becoming competitive in what should be supportive relationships. So in terms of advice, we should use this energy to organise fun activities that allow everyone in our circle to shine in their own unique way rather than taking away their sign. In terms of our co-worker relationship, we can just be more natural in our approach to leadership in a way that is cooperative, allowing us to work together on projects, inspiring each other through enthusiastic sort of new innovative ideas, and courageously, championing team efforts, rooting for the team, wanting to work as a team. But negatively, workplace ego classes or competition kind of for credit and recognition can get in the way of working together. So use the increased charisma that this transit brings to advocate, stand up for team work as a whole, making sure that your leadership style elevates, lifts up everyone rather than seeking personal glory. In terms of committed couples, it allows us to renew our romantic kind of expression, gives us creative approaches to relationship challenges, and being sort of like innovative in our date nights and stuff like that, and have those courageous conversations that can deepen our intimacy. But negatively, power struggles can happen if both partners compete for dominance or attention within relationships. So schedule passionate date nights that incorporate elements of play and performance, allowing both partners to feel seen or celebrated. In terms of hookup relationships, there can be more magnetic sexual charisma, playful and creative, intimate encounters, experiences, and a more clear, confident expression of our desires and needs, especially our sexual and sensual needs, right? But negatively, we can have be too excessive in our need for attention, and this can lead to dramatic displays of, words to attract attention, seek attention, or using, romantic hookups as a source of ego validation, just hooking up to make ourselves feel better rather than dealing with the core reasons of why we may not be feeling better, So the best use in terms of hookups is to make sure passionate expressions are authentic rather than performative, and remember that genuine connection outdoes, is better than dramatic intensity and just seeking attention or trying to fill a void that only gets bigger the more we hook up, because we can never truly be validated this way. It has to come from within, right? So just thinking of healthy ways to seek validation and hooking up and all of that is not wrong. It's a natural part of human life, but when we're doing it for other reasons other than the pleasure of hooking up, this is when it can become imbalanced and become unfulfilling, right? In terms of those who are single and self-partnered, it gives us an increased ability to attract admirers, people through natural confidence and being clear about what we desire in relationships, and gives us the courage to start, connect us, initiate dates, but negatively we can attract partners who are drawn to our radiance, our energy, but may not support our authentic self beyond the performance, so just make sure we're being real about our needs. Use this transit to develop a romantic approach that balances healthy self-display and with discernment, telling the difference about what you truly want and who truly appreciates your depth beyond the performance, beyond the surface of maybe what you look like, what job you do, what car you drive and such things, So in terms of career development, it allows us to make brave career moves, increases our leadership presence and creative approaches to professional challenges, helps us to gain positive attention from our superiors, our bosses and co-workers, but negatively it can bring workplace drama. We can have an overcommitment to impress others, and this can lead to conflicts with authority figures rather than us gaining the recognition, So we should use this energy towards visible, touchable projects where our natural charisma and, our ability to initiate, to start can shine while benefiting the entire organisation rather than, trying to just get what we want out of the organisation or our team members without giving back. In terms of personal development, it accelerates our growth and self-confidence, increases our ability to overcome fears through courageous action, and helps us develop a more authentic self-expression, but negatively the risk of developing sort of aspects of our personality, just putting them forward, pretending, not being authentic, so we can get external validation rather than genuine self-actualization, genuine self-expression, so the best use of this is to use journaling to tell the difference between our authentic desires for self-expression and our ego-driven needs for, likes, applause, and all the validation, focusing on developing ourselves through authentic self-expression rather than just the need to gain likes and recognition from external people and sources just to feel validated, as we know that validated can feel good, but it's always temporary. It goes, right? The only validation that comes and that can stay is the validation what comes through shadow work, inner work, and learning to love yourself for who you are, and finding yourself and being authentic in the way that you express yourself, regardless of what others may say about it, as long as you're not doing no harm to them or yourself, be yourself, In terms of spiritual development, taking a heart-centered approach to your spiritual growth and, building the courage to follow your own unique spiritual path, and we can feel more generous in sharing our spiritual insights with others as well, and this is a good thing to do, but negatively, spiritual pride and our ego or performance spirituality rather than embodying it authentically by doing that inner child work, that shadow work, finding out your own needs spiritually rather than imitating what other spiritual leaders or other people practice spirituality say what you must do to be spiritual, explore devotional practices that engage the heart and require courage, like mindfulness yoga or any other yoga or service work that challenges your comfort zone, in terms of educational development. It gives us increased ability to take leadership in learning environments, courage to express original ideas, and be more passionate with, the subjects that interest us, right? But negatively, we can just study for the sake of getting recognition and people being like, oh my gosh, you work so hard, you study so hard, you research so hard, rather than genuinely wanting the knowledge. You're just doing it so you can get the likes and the rewards. And we can also have difficulty in accepting any critique of our academic or any other work as well. So, seek and look for opportunities to teach what you're learning, because Mars in Leo 5s, grows when knowledge is not just acquired, but creatively expressed and shared, So in terms of self-partner development, it can bring us a deeper appreciation for our gifts, increase self-romance through creative expression, and the courage to, champion not only stand up for our own needs, but negatively it can lead to harsh, critical self-judgment. We're not receiving external validation, or we can have a difficulty acknowledging our personal restrictions, limitations. So, it's important to try not to be harsh on yourself, to get validation from within, to build your self-awareness and love will continue to do so, create regular creative dates with yourself where you explore forms of expression that delight you, regardless of people's reaction or the practical application of it. Just sometimes just create for the joy of creating, rather than thinking, oh, I must get the light, so it must be good, it must be perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about the best holistic activities for creatives, professionals, entrepreneurs, lovers, and healers to do. So creatives, theatrical improvisation, putting on performances, whether it's just in your bedroom or with, community drama club you belong to, bravely mixed media experimentation, and publicly showing off your works in progress, rather than thinking I can't show my work until when it's completed. So, my advice is to let your creative courage push boundaries. Mars in Leo supports taking risks that previous transits might have discouraged. Professionals, leadership workshops, presentation skills and development, and strategic visibility, within your organization can do really, really well right now. Use this transit to develop your professional presence, your profile through volunteering for high visibility projects that allow your natural leadership to shine. Entrepreneurs, be brave in your branding, have branding sort of refreshes, changing how you can, change your approach to how you market yourself, maybe doing charismatic marketing campaigns, even if you don't like to show your face online, whatever. Be more passionate in your pitches to potential investors or clients. Let your authentic enthusiasm for your business become your greatest marketing asset. Mars in Leo supports selling through genuine passion rather than technique alone. Alternative healers, performance-based healing methods and practices, and heart-centered energy work and courageous public education about your healing approach can do really well. This energy supports your healing work that, brings together creativity and performance, such as sound healing, concerts or interactive workshops. Others, creative date nights, playful role-playing, exploring that and opening your heart through dance and other movement practices together can do really well. Use the passionate energy of this transit to break relationship routines with spontaneous expressions of desire, love, affection and appreciation. Singles and self-partnered, solo dance parties, or expressing yourself through journaling about your desires and your wants, and brave personal experimentation in the way you dress, you speak and all of that. Use this time to develop comfort when you are being seen and appreciated, practice receiving attention in safe contexts, like in your bedroom, practicing in the mirror, and some of you may need to do this before you engage in new relationships as well. So in terms of questions that can help you with self-reflection, so in terms of reflecting about your financial needs, you can ask yourself, how does my need for recognition influence my spending and earning patterns? So this question reveals how Leo's desire for acknowledgement affects financial choices. For example, when someone overspends on appearances or goes after careers based on status rather than satisfaction. So ask yourself, what brave financial moves am I avoiding out of fear or failure or criticism? And asking yourself this question highlights Mars in Leo's challenge to take courageous financial action. So, for example, someone may be hesitant to invest in their creative business idea despite genuine passion and potential, and this can stop them, using their talents. You can also ask yourself how you can align your financial strategies better with activities that bring you joy and creative expression. So this confronts and meets Mars in Leo's potential for heart-aligned prosperity, when someone successfully monetizes their genuine artistic passion rather than separating how they earn their income from enjoyment, from their happiness, so merging happiness with making money. In terms of your emotional needs, you can ask, how am I performing emotions rather than authentically expressing them? This exposes Leo's tendency towards being dramatic, right? As when someone creates elaborate emotional displays that distance themselves from genuine vulnerability, this can close down the heart, right? You can also ask yourself, what parts of my emotional life am I hiding because I fear they don't appear strong or impressive? And this can help you identify how Mars in Leo can suppress unimpressive emotions, such as when leaders hide uncertainty because they believe it contradicts their powerful image, so getting comfortable with vulnerability. Being a strong leader doesn't mean that you don't feel uncertainty sometimes, You can ask yourself, how can I express my emotional needs with both courage and vulnerability? And this leverages Mars in Leo's strength for emotional integration, like directly expressing the need for appreciation while acknowledging the vulnerability inherent in that request. In terms of our spiritual needs, you can ask yourself, how does my desire for spiritual recognition help or get in the way of my authentic growth? And this can help us focus on the impact of ego in spiritual development, because at times when someone goes after spiritual accomplishments, right, they can do it for community status, for praise from people rather than genuine evolution growth, so this question helps us think about the ways we may do that. You can ask yourself, what spiritual truths am I hesitant, reluctant to express bravely or stand behind publicly? And this confronts and meets Mars in Leo's call for spiritual courage. It highlights when we can keep our spiritual or other unorthodox, out there, non-conformist practices private, despite their transformative importance, despite how important they are to, because we fear people saying, oh, that's silly, which people often do, so it's a valid concern. But at times, being spiritual means being brave and standing up for what we authentically believe in, going beyond, conforming to other people's expectations, right? You can ask yourself how you can integrate your passionate expression with your spiritual humility, humbleness, keeping it low key, and this taps into Mars in Leo's higher potential. So think about spiritual teachers who inspire others through authentic enthusiasm while maintaining genuine humanity by showing their shadow and their scars, and sharing their fears about their place in the larger universe, In terms of our psychological needs, we can ask ourselves, how does my need for applause affect my psychological well-being? This explores Leo's dependency on external validation, as when our moods, fluctuate, swings, goes up and down, back and forth dramatically based on social media responses and audience reactions and what other people say. This is not real validation. It's not sustainable, right? And this can affect our psychological well-being. So looking at how your need for attention can affect you feeling stable within. You can ask yourself, what aspects of my authentic self am I exaggerating or minimizing to fit an image I think others will admire? And this can identify performance versus authenticity, such as, adapting, pretending to have exaggerated self-confidence while repressing your genuine sensitivity and other needs, right? You can also ask yourself, how can I use my creative expression as a psychological healing tool? And this leverages Mars in Leo's transformative potential, like using dramatic arts therapy to express and integrate difficult emotions through performance, right? And in terms of your physical needs, you can ask, how does my desire to express others affect my physical self-care? And this connects performance, bodily image and well-being, because when exercise and looking after our eating habits and sleep habits becomes about appearance rather than our overall health, and when rest is sacrificed for productivity so that others can notice, this can take away from our well-being, and make us burn out. You can also ask yourself, what physical activities bring you joy beyond their status or appearance benefits? And this reflects Leo's connection to play and pleasure. And we can discover that things like dance or any other passion, singing, drawing, can bring more authentic happiness rather than just doing it to get status, like sticking to that tedious gym routine just to get status rather than doing the things, the exercises that really bring you joy, like maybe trampolining, rebounding. You can ask yourself, how can I approach physical challenges with courageous self-expression? And this confronts and meets Mars in Leo's balanced approach to physical limits. So think about someone who proudly modified, changed their exercises to suit their body and other needs rather than just doing it for show and appearance and what others think and say, So all in all, when Mars transits through Leo for 7 to 8 weeks, it's a powerful opportunity to build on our creative courage, become more passionate about our self-expression, and become more heart-centered in our approach to leadership and taking charge and ownership for our life, such as our personal growth and inspiring others as well. It illuminates, makes bigger our capacity, ability for taking center stage, going after our desires with dramatic skill, and inspiring others through authentic, courageous action on the positive. But the challenges come through ego conflicts, power struggles, or excessive pride and ego and dramatic expression, just wanting to show off and invalidating others to feel validated, But the potential for creative breakthrough, magnetic leadership, and generous sharing of our gifts is tremendous. And this is what we should use this energy to do, by stepping into Mars in Leo season with our hearts set on fire and allowing ourselves to be brave. The universe invites us to roar our truth, shine our light, and discover new dimensions of our creative power through the magic of passionate action and generous leadership and positive self-expression that focuses on how can I improve my life by taking ownership, becoming more empowered, and seeking validation from within by doing that inner child work, that shadow work, becoming more self-aware, forgiving ourselves, becoming more authentic in our self-expression, self-management, self-love and respect, and building our self-esteem in healthy ways. So that's the end of this very in-depth special on all things Mars transiting in Leo. I'm Amani, your holistic astrological karmic life coach. Take care and see you next time.